For so long, we have been conditioned to believe that a gentle nature, a kind heart, and a disposition of perpetual agreeableness are the ultimate virtues. The good girl is celebrated in stories and society alike as a beacon of light, a selfless soul who puts the needs of others before her own, and in doing so, finds her own fulfillment. It's a narrative deeply woven into our collective psyche, suggesting that the most admirable quality one can possess is the ability to navigate the world without ever causing a ripple, always smoothing over the rough edges of human interaction. We are taught that this constant striving for harmony, this avoidance of conflict at all costs, is the path to inner peace and universal acceptance. It's a beautiful, yet profoundly deceptive myth we've all been sold. But what if this endless quest for external validation and this fear of displeasing others is not a sign of virtue, but a profound and painful act of self-betrayal? What if the constant effort to be everyone's safe haven is actually a slow, quiet erosion of your own soul's integrity, leaving you with a hollow space where your own voice, your true desires, and your authentic self used to reside? The common belief is that the good girl is a sanctuary for others, but in reality, she becomes a desolate temple for herself, a sanctuary with an empty altar, because the divine flame of her own essence was given away to keep others warm. The good girl is not a force of radiant light. She is, in truth, the shadow of the full being she could become. This figure, so celebrated by society, does not embody genuine goodness, but rather a diluted, weakened version of herself, shaped by fear. The journey presented to her is not a path to become a better person by external standards, but a much deeper and more challenging quest to reclaim the fragments of her being that were abandoned and sacrificed in the name of pleasing others. The relentless pursuit of perpetual agreeableness is not a testament to her innate goodness, but a painful symptom of her deepest insecurities and cruelest fears. This constant compliance is fueled by the dread of rejection, the anxiety of conflict, and above all, the terrifying belief that her authentic self, with all its complexities and imperfections, is simply not enough to be loved. It is a state of profound self-denial, where a person buries their own truth in the hope that the approval of others will serve as a kind of armor against internal emptiness. Yet this armor is made of sand, and the smallest wave of external disapproval can collapse it, revealing the fragile construct that holds her identity together. The kindness she displays is not a choice made from a place of strength, but a compulsion born from a desperate need for validation. It's a form of emotional debt where she gives away pieces of herself, hoping to be paid back in acceptance. A fundamental question thus emerges: how can we genuinely be a source of light, warmth, and comfort for others when our own internal sun has been snuffed out, suffocated, and sacrificed to illuminate someone else's path? The person who pleases everyone ultimately becomes a ghost, a presence that echoes what others want to see, but which has no true substance of its own. Authentic goodness resides in integrity, in the ability to be a whole human being with her own needs and boundaries. Only when her inner flame is reignited, allowing her authentic self to manifest, can she radiate a light that is true and sustainable. What appeared to be a beacon for others was, in fact, a distorted reflection that kept her own soul in the dark. The good girl syndrome, at its core, is a philosophical and psychological wound, a chasm that opens between who you are and who you feel you must be to survive. It's not the absence of a self, but a self that has been deliberately fragmented and disassociated. Carl Jung would argue that this is the ego's defense mechanism, a desperate strategy to avoid the frightening encounter with the shadow, the parts of ourselves we deem unacceptable or unlovable. The good girl meticulously curates an outer persona, a polished mask that hides a vast, untapped reservoir of emotions, instincts, and desires. She builds her life on a foundation of shoulds and oughts, a construct so fragile it can shatter with a single disapproving glance. This behavior isn't a noble sacrifice. It's a profound detachment from the instinctual, primal self, a rejection of her own darkness and light. According to Jung, the journey of life is the process of individuation, the unfolding and integration of all aspects of the self, including the shadow. The good girl perpetually avoids this essential process, choosing instead to live within a protective, yet constricting, psychological cocoon. She is so concerned with being palatable to the world that she never allows herself to grow her true wings. She remains a caterpillar, safe and hidden, never daring to face the painful, transformative chrysalis that would lead to her full, integrated self. This cocoon is not a place of safety, but a prison built from the expectations of others, and its walls are lined with the silent screams of her unlived life. She believes she is a master of empathy, but in truth, she is a master of mirroring the needs of others, forgetting that genuine empathy requires a secure sense of self from which to operate. This state is a profound contradiction. She is not present in her own life, but she is an omnipresent force in the lives of others. Her kindness is often a form of emotional currency, a transaction where she gives away pieces of herself in exchange for acceptance. It is a one-sided contract that leaves her perpetually in debt to her own existence. The true presence, the kind that resonates with others on a soul level, comes not from mirroring but from being a full, complete, and complex individual. A person who is not afraid to say no, to have boundaries, to be inconvenient, and to stand alone. She must learn to differentiate her own needs from the endless demands of the world. This is the painful and necessary first step towards reclaiming her power and her right to be. The moment you decide to break free from this pattern, a profound and disconcerting discomfort arises. You begin to say no, to set boundaries, to assert your needs, and in doing so, you will encounter the bewildered and sometimes hostile reactions of those who have grown accustomed to your selflessness. People will accuse you of being selfish, cold, or changed. They will say you've lost your kindness, when in reality, you have only just begun to discover what true kindness is, the ability to be a sovereign individual, whole unto yourself, without needing to be validated by the smiles of others. This social incomprehension is not a sign that you are on the wrong path. It is a signal that you are finally stepping off the familiar paved road of pleasing others and venturing onto the untrodden path of your own identity. It is a lonely journey at first, filled with a deep sense of disorientation. You may experience a profound sense of anguish, a disquieting feeling of not belonging. The very people you dedicated your life to pleasing now seem distant and foreign. This is the difficult yet essential encounter with the shadow self. You are meeting the parts of you that have been repressed and silenced for so long, the anger, the resentment, the defiance. This psychological struggle is a necessary part of the individuation process. As Jung noted, the encounter with the shadow is never comfortable, but it is the prerequisite for growth and wholeness. It is in facing the darkness within that you can truly appreciate the light. It's in the quiet agony of this detachment that you begin to build a new, stronger foundation for yourself, one that is not dependent on the approval of others. We need to validate this emotional turmoil. It's okay to feel lost, scared, and even guilty. These are not signs of weakness, but a testament to the magnitude of the change you are undergoing. You are unlearning decades of ingrained behavior, and that is a monumental task. The loneliness you feel is not a sign that you are alone, but a sign that you are forging a new and authentic relationship with yourself. Every no you utter to someone else is a yes you are affirming to yourself. This discomfort is the price of liberation, the emotional payment required to reclaim your own soul. It is a painful but sacred process of self-reclamation. The good girl often equates her self-sacrificial behavior with empathy, yet a deeper look reveals it as a form of control. By being perpetually available and agreeable, she subtly manages the emotional landscape around her, ensuring she is indispensable and, therefore, cannot be abandoned. This isn't genuine connection. It's a strategic maneuver to avoid the painful vulnerability of authentic relationships, where friction and disagreement are inevitable. True connection requires a willingness to be seen in all your complexity, to risk disappointing others, and to hold your ground. This facade of selflessness, while appearing gentle, is a rigid and unyielding wall that prevents real intimacy from ever taking root. She builds a monument to her kindness, but it is, in reality, a fortress designed to keep others at a safe emotional distance. This constant performance of agreeableness also leads to a deep-seated resentment. She believes she is giving willingly, but unconsciously, she is keeping a meticulous tally of every sacrifice made, every favor granted. This internal ledger fills up, and when others fail to reciprocate in the way she silently expects, a quiet bitterness takes hold. The sweet exterior starts to curdle with an unspoken anger. This isn't the noble spirit of giving. It's a silent, transactional exchange where she feels cheated when the other party doesn't hold up their end of a contract they never knew they signed. The resentment is a symptom of her unacknowledged needs, the shadow of her own kindness turning against her. This emotional debt is a heavy burden, a constant weight that eventually crushes the very person she is trying to be. The profound truth is that her kindness is not absent, but it is misdirected. She offers it to everyone but herself. She is a stranger in her own house, treating the needs of others with the utmost care, while her own are left to wither on the vine. This neglect is the most dangerous aspect of the syndrome. It starves the authentic self, leaving her emotionally and spiritually malnourished. The journey forward involves a radical act of redirection, taking all that love, all that care, and all that compassion and turning it inward. It is about becoming the gentle, nurturing person for herself that she has always been for the world. This is the act of true self-love, and it is the only way to build a well from which she can genuinely give to others without running dry. The path to breaking free is not about becoming unfeeling, but about becoming deeply connected to your own emotional truth. It is about rediscovering the wild, untamed aspects of your being that were tamed and domesticated for the sake of social acceptance. This is a return to a more primitive and instinctual self, a self that knows when to retreat, when to fight, and when to simply be. This wild soul is the part of you that refuses to be confined by the expectations of others, the part that howls in the face of injustice and dances to its own rhythm. The good girl has systematically suppressed this instinct, trading the freedom of her inner wilderness for the safety of a well-manicured garden. But a garden, no matter how beautiful, can never be a forest. This reawakening will manifest as a newfound sense of integrity, where your actions begin to align with your deepest values, not with the approval of others. You will find yourself saying no to things that drain you, not with guilt, but with a quiet conviction. This is the process of integrating your will into your daily life. It is the journey of moving from a state of passive reaction to one of active creation. The world may see this as stubbornness or selfishness, but you will know it as the blossoming of your authentic being. This is the moment you stop being an object to be consumed and start being a subject with agency. You are no longer a mirror reflecting the needs of others. You are a source of light shining in your own unique way. This is the ultimate confrontation with the myth of the good girl. She is not defined by her gentleness, but by her strength. Her power does not lie in her ability to please everyone, but in her courage to displease the wrong people. She learns that the people who truly love her will not require her to sacrifice herself. They will celebrate her wholeness, not her fragmentation. The journey of reclaiming her wild soul is a testament to this truth, that the most profound act of goodness is not for others, but for the self, because only a person who is whole can truly offer something meaningful to the world. As you endure this period of discomfort and social resistance, a remarkable transformation begins to unfold. The fragmented pieces of your being slowly, and sometimes painstakingly, start to reintegrate. The anxiety and the gnawing need for external validation begin to recede, replaced by a quiet, solid sense of self-worth. You no longer need others to tell you that you are good, because you have finally connected with your own internal truth. The profound shift occurs when you realize that your value is not a reflection of what you do for others, but a fundamental part of who you are, independent of external conditions. This is the moment you stop being a caretaker and start being a complete person. The result of this journey is true empowerment, a deep-seated self-sufficiency that does not come from isolating yourself, but from standing in your own sovereignty. She is no longer a gentle lamb. She is a lioness, protective of her boundaries and fierce in her convictions. She has reconnected with her instincts and her inner wisdom. The need for constant reassurance from others melts away as she begins to trust her own judgment and her own emotional compass. The emptiness that once resided within is now filled with the light of her own authenticity. She becomes her own temple, her own home, and her own source of light. She becomes whole. And as Jung would observe, a whole person is often perceived as dangerous by those who benefit from her fragmentation. The danger is not that she will harm others, but that she will no longer allow herself to be harmed by them. She is no longer easily manipulated by guilt or flattery, because her emotional core is no longer for sale. She stands in her own power, a quiet storm of self-respect. This is the ultimate victory, the sacred reclaiming of her own psychological territory, and the profound liberation that comes from finally giving yourself permission to simply be. This journey is not about becoming unkind or selfish. It's about learning to be truly and authentically kind, starting with yourself. It's about giving from a place of abundance and not from a place of depletion, because a drained well cannot quench anyone's thirst. So I ask you, what parts of you have you sacrificed on the altar of other people's approval? What dreams have you put on hold to avoid conflict? The answers to these questions are not a source of shame, but a map to your own liberation. This conversation is just the beginning, a single step on a path that requires deep self-reflection and courage. If this message has resonated with you, if you feel a stirring of recognition within your own soul, then consider this your moment of reckoning. Your awakening has begun. Share this video with someone who might also be on this journey, who needs to hear this message of reclamation and self-worth. By sharing, you help them, and in a way, you affirm your own path. We need to build a community where authenticity is celebrated and where people can find the courage to be their true, imperfect, and powerful selves. Leave a comment below and tell me one thing you will do this week to honor your own voice. And if you're not already, subscribe to the channel. This is a place where we delve into the deeper truths of the human psyche, where we unpack the unspoken anxieties and fears that hold us back. We are here to navigate this complex world together, to find strength in our shared vulnerability. Remember, you are not alone in this struggle. The desire for a more authentic life is not a solitary yearning. It is a profound and collective awakening. You are not alone. You are simply waking up.